People of YouTube on the interweb, you are being lied to by your elites.
They're not telling you everything that's going on. You are not paying attention. You're asleep.
You are asleep and we are going to wake you up.
Sheeple, not sheeple.
Stop being sheeple. We are Unheard, Sirens Incorporated Society and we're Renegades.
Join us. Renegades out the portal.
So yeah, let's get right into it. I wanted to pick a topic for this podcast because we were late, because we had a lot going on. I wanted to pick something that was kind of easy for us to tackle, that we didn't have to do at least a whole lot of review and research and stuff like that. Other than our pop portal segment, which is our second segment, which we'll get into that later. But so our main topic for tonight, I wanted to pick. I decided that we should talk about bingeable TV shows, or shows that the two of us have binged multiple times, because I feel like it's something we could tackle very easily. It's shows we know a lot of, and it's a nice connection point. And also, this first show definitely fits the theme of fighting capitalism and fighting against the man. It is none other than a show that started in 2015, talking about Mr. Robot. That's right, Mr. Robot, show that aired on USA Network starting in 2015.
We have our masks.
Yes, we have our F Society masks right here. If you've never seen Mr. Robot, it is a show about a vigilante hacker played by Remy Malek. That's right, star who blew up basically thanks to this show. They became a household name and got it into Bohemian Rhapsody and was in a Bond movie and all this stuff, and has a very flourishing acting career off the back of his brilliant performance as Elliot Alderson, the main character in this show, who's very kind of socially awkward, very kind of lonely, maybe on the spectrum a bit, and has trouble relating to people. But he's a brilliant hacker. He knows computers inside and out, and he uses his hacking skills as to be a vigilante, and he goes after people who use the internet for pedophiles and nefarious things, and takes them down one by one. But also is fighting against this company called E Corp, which is Evil Corp, which he rewrites in his brain to be Evil Corp. And so he basically represents every large conglomerate that is taking control of the world right now. It's like they're all rolled into one. It's just E Corp.
Yeah, which they are all rolled into about 2 or 3, and even the 2 or 3 that they're all rolled into.
They're all embedded together
actually all
anyway,
the same people on those boards. So P.S. guys, it is like this, that we do have evil. We do have Evil Corp. I mean, that's we're living in Mr. Robot's world. He's not really talking about things that are fiction. Yeah. He's talking about the world we live in and ways that can maybe help people put more pieces together, which is part of what we like about it.
So the show kind of follows Elliot as he tries to
takes on Evil Corp.
He takes on Evil Corp. He gets this kind of ragtag hacker group together, and it follows this hack that they do on Evil Corp and the fallout from all of that. And this show, I discovered it last year around this time. The last time you took a big trip, basically every time
whenever I travel, we find something new to binge watch.
Exactly. That's because
needs more things to do.
Because you were leaving town for several weeks, and I don't want to continue watching something we already watched together.
Yeah,
we watch Doctor Who and stuff like that, and as husband and wife, we watch a lot of stuff together. But I don't want to keep watching something we're already watching. Me. I want to pick something else, and I've heard about Mr. Robot off and on, and I'm I think I'll finally give the show a shot, and then I'll binge watched almost the entire thing before she got back from vacation. I was
and then we started rewatching it together. Yeah. And then I went away for a month, so he re-binged it. And then I came back, so now we're re-binging it together. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he's gotten the quadruple pass.
Yeah. So I'm on my third or fourth time watching the episodes. I think the show is brilliantly written. Kudos to Sam Esmail, who created the show and is the main writing force behind it. Much like Elliot rewrites E Corp to be Evil Corp in his head, I always rewrite Sam Esmail to Sam Email, because it's just
his name is Sam's Email. If you
Sam's
switch
email,
2 letters,
Because
Sam
it's a hacker show. It's about computers. Sam, it's his
gotta be.
last name is so similar to email. It's just anyway.
It's crazy.
It's fun.
And also Christian Slater's one of the main actors.
He's
an executive producer on the show as well. And for any of you who follow Christian Slater's career at all and like remember Heathers or remember Pump Up the Volume from the 90s, like he's always been a social critic type actor.
He's brilliantly cast as the titular Mr. Robot, who is the sort of confident like leader of the hacker group that recruits
called
Elliot.
F Society.
Called F Society, that recruits Elliot into their ranks to help them really pull off this thing.
So Mr. Robot is running F Society, and he gets Elliot because Elliot is placed in a perfect place to be a Trojan horse and get a hack going from the inside.
Yeah, the cyber security company called AllSafe, which does their security. Their big client they're not all safe.
But they're doing cybersecurity for Evil Corp. So because Elliot's already working for AllSafe, he can get something that's going to get back into Evil Corp's network.
And you find out some more stuff about Mr. Robot later in season 1, which we'll get into deeper into spoilers later, but we'll give you fair warning when we do.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what I love about the show, it tackles those themes of fighting corporate greed and this kind of hyper capitalism that we live in now. It's a great kind of myth allegory, I guess, for that. But also it's not simple. It's not on the nose messaging. Like nobody's black and white. Everybody is shades of gray. And it's brilliantly, written. Like even when stuff starts to go right and like the hack goes through, it's like, was this a good thing? Was this a bad thing?
There's a lot of unintended consequences that the hacking group hadn't really foreseen. They're trying to do a hack that would actually erase the debt records so that everybody's slate would be wiped clean. You wouldn't have any more credit card debt. You wouldn't have anything more owed on your house. You wouldn't have any more student loan debt and all of that. But it is much more complicated than that because there's also no cash flow in the system. So people don't have enough money to buy food. So it's a different kind of world than they expect. They think they're going to just make things better, but they just change things radically when the hack goes through. And then you have to watch the seasons to see how things play out and what they do to kind of respond to how it unfolds. Yeah.
And there's also, there's a lot going on with with Elliot's character. He deals with like crippling loneliness, and he is a morphine addict for a good part of the first, season. And he's dealing with that. At the same time, he's joining this F Society group. And it also kind of revolves around a lot of the characters in his life, like his best friend Angela, who also works at AllSafe with him, and both of their parents, both Elliot's father and Angela's mother, died at working for this Washington Township in the 90s, which is owned by E Corp, and they had this massive leak that was causing people to develop cancer, and Elliot's father dies of leukemia due to his work with this plant. And that's kind of informs Elliot's motivations for doing this hack and for his pure hatred of Evil Corp. Because
they killed his father and they fired his father rather than taking care of him too. So they denied any responsibility, but it comes out that, during the course of the show, there's more and more evidence of how they knew very well what was happening, and they just decided to cover it up and just, they looked at the cold, hard calculus of it and said, well, the lawsuits later from a few people dying are cheaper to settle than changing our plan and changing this plant and dealing with the pollution, which is a real decision that corporations all over our world are constantly making. They would rather do the 7-year-long class action lawsuits later after people have lost their loved ones. It all rings true. Yeah, because they just look at the math and they're like, oh, well, there's some settlements that have gone through even very recently that are like billions of dollars, but they're still a drop in the bucket compared to what these companies are making. So they'd much rather remain abusers and then just pay a few people off and just keep doing what they're doing because that's the path of least resistance. And we'd already talked about covering Mr. Robot in one of our podcasts, and then pairing it with the actors and writer strike is very appropriate because the same kinds of these Machiavellian behaviors on the part of the people in charge are leading to all of the conditions that are exposed in the show. And these are the same conditions that actually exist in our world. It's really not fiction, guys.
No,
it's not fiction.
It's really not.
It's a very, very wonderfully created story of characters going through something that's very much based in our reality.
Yeah. It feels it doesn't feel terribly exaggerated in what it's portraying, like, at all. Like, I really feel like there's some alternate universe where these events are playing out. What's cool about the show is it started in 2015 and it ended in 2019. They did 4 seasons, but the entirety of the show takes place in the year 2015. It's a bit cool in that way. Like, it's very finite in its focus, and also they make several references in the show to Back to the Future 2, which is great. And also, that's one of the things that feels like this show was written for me, because it feels like it's playing on my own nostalgia, not only just for Back to the Future period, but especially Back to the Future 2, because I love Back to the Future 2. I know Back to the Future 1 is like a perfect movie, and of course, I think Back to the Future, the first one, is the best movie in the trilogy, but I think Back to the Future 2 is my favorite one, because they go to the future and then they come back to a present that is like a disaster, that is hell, and then they go back inside the first movie, and it's in a really fun way that's along the events of the first movie. So, like, I've always loved Back to the Future 2, so the fact that Mr. Robot makes so many little, references here and there to Back to the Future 2 in a show that takes place in 2015, the year in the future that they travel to in Back to the Future 2, is just, like, really cool.
Oh no! Mask is down.
So yeah, this is the mask that the F Society group takes on. F Society.
We are coming for you.
We are coming for you, evil capitalists. We are coming for you.
You have to wear the hat.
Oh, it's good. Yes.
We need our props.
We need our props. Yes, when we have them, we need them. We are coming for you. Free! You are free from debt slavery.
Wow. That'd be a really cute Halloween outfit for you, baby.
Yep. It may be a future cosplay.
With the skirt and the top. And the whole thing's working. I like it. I like what's happening from head to toe. Yeah, that was good.
Future date night ideas. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yep. It happens sometimes. It happens. I'll be your Mr. Robot. Wait,
what?
What?
But there's some rants that they get to do, Elliot gets to do, and Christian Slater gets to do. They make me so happy.
Yes.
You gotta love it. Like,
great,
a brilliant,
speeches and clips and stuff like that.
Rants. And then sometimes, because you as an audience member are a character in the show, you're in his invisible friend that he's speaking to, so he turns to the character and he's like, I know what you're thinking. Don't tell me that. Yes. And then he turns back and goes back into the show. And it's hilarious. The way that they deal with the fourth wall in the audience and involving you in the storytelling.
There's definitely
some incredibly engaging.
Some mental health issues. So, like, Elliot is kind of your narrator, but he's a very unreliable narrator. So you're not sure, like, what's
and he
the facts
thinks he's getting
real.
Information from the audience, from you on the other side of the camera. Yeah. He also feels that you are unreliable.
Who he just refers to as friend, which is why I refer to everybody as hello friend at the beginning of the episode.
Hello, friend.
Hello, friend.
Because everybody out there, you're the friend, right? You're the one giving us the information. Don't you know what's going on? We have no idea.
So yeah, I would highly encourage you guys check out Mr. Robot if you haven't. I believe it's on Amazon right now. So you can watch it there. I guess we gotta start.
It was on USA Network originally, which is not one of the major networks.
But also has
had some good shows.
The fact that this brilliant show came out is also like weird that it came out on USA Network, because no knock on USA Network,
the big
but
corporations own ABC, NBC, and
they own USA too.
I know. So, but at least they were like, probably less people might see it. I don't know. I feel like it's just critical of society.
Yeah, I know. The balls of this storytelling, the fact that USA just wanted to pull the trigger on it, I'm like, kudos to you guys. Unlike a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. Yeah. So
I don't know if we need to do the spoilers version. I think this might be good enough. There's a lot of reveals in the show. I feel like we got take your breath away a little bit. I mean, it's very smart storytelling, and there's more than one twist and turn in the course of the various seasons of the show.
Right.
And they're playing around with Elliot is having trouble negotiating reality and sometimes lives in a little bit of a fantasy world. And so then there's times when retrospectively things that were filmed as if they were the regular reality, you're discovering along with Elliot, did that happen? Did that not happen? Was that in his head?
You're bringing it up. I got to bring it up. So, like, brief spoiler, if you haven't watched season 1, I'm going to give you one spoiler. I'm going to do one spoiler. I'm going to give you guys a time code to skip to if you haven't watched it. Go watch season 1, pause this video, go watch it, then come back here.
It's worth talking about.
It's revealed that Mr. Robot is not only a character in Elliot's head, and he's been Mr. Robot the entire time, but Mr. Robot also appears as Elliot's dead father. Yeah. So Christian Slater is Elliot's dad, who died in
12.
When he was a young kid. And so the Mr. Robot he's been seeing leading the F Society group is actually this alternate personality of Elliot. It's very much kind of a lift of the twist from Fight Club, but Sam Email doesn't care. He's like, he kind of owns the influences on his sleeves. There's several other like homages to other like movies and stuff throughout, the show, but it's played so well and it's done in such an original way. It's like a collage of all these awesome things. It's wearing its influences on its sleeve, and I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great reveal when that happened, when it was like revealed that like what Mr. Robot was a personality in Elliot's head the whole time.
And then you have to think about every episode you watched and every scene and how it was filmed, and you're thinking back and you're like, how the hell does this work? And then you can rewatch it to kind of watch for what's happening, and how is he? What about when he's interacting directly with Mr. Robot? What's that like? And they start to explain it and kind of show you like what was happening and how it works and what you're seeing as the friend who's keeping an eye on things. So I think they did a good job. Oh
yeah, for sure. And it was one of those things like when that reveal happened, I was like, it was exactly that. I was like, wait a minute, what? Because Mr. Robot was talking to other people who were not Elliot, but then I've watched it again a couple other times, and watching season 1 all the way through again and seeing like, because all the times when Elliot's talking to Mr. Robot, it's all in his head, and then like when it's Mr. Robot talking, that's just that more confident personality taking over and talking through him. So like it kind of makes sense in that. And also they like in season one of the seasons, they go back to one of the other scenes where you saw Mr. Robot talking to one of the other characters, and then they do that scene again, but it's Elliot saying the same lines and doing the same thing. So like that was a cool like shift of perspective there.
Yeah, there's little things they do to kind of show you what was happening, and if they'd filmed it a different way, here's what's happening when Elliot's kind of inhabiting his Mr. Robot persona, because basically he's created another self and let his father inhabit that self, and that's the one who is just determined to take down Evil Corp and get retribution. So it makes sense that he would make that more aggressive hacker side of himself, who's very sure that the right thing to do is to hack them and take them down. Whereas Elliot himself is much more conflicted and uncertain, and he is worried about some of these envisioned and unintended consequences that can happen with a big hack. Whereas Mr. Robot's like, screw him, I'm doing it. So it's really interesting because people that have dealt with dissociative identity disorder, schizophrenia, it does it in a way that gives you a lot of understanding and compassion about what's going on. And you also see his social anxiety, which a lot of people that don't go all the way to developing full-blown invisible friends or multiple personalities, many people are dealing with social anxiety and are dealing with loneliness. And he's in a lot of pain and he's really lonely as the show starts. And that's led to the amount of distress that's created a whole other set of personas. And, it continues to play out, and the reveal of who Mr. Robot is and what's happening is not the only reveal in the show, but I do think it's the only one we should really talk about. Because it's so worth watching the show, and I love not knowing too much. I love just being able to like go into something and just get truly surprised. So if you can, do yourself a favor and don't Google all the reveals, but ahead of time, like if you haven't seen the show, go watch it. It's really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's and there's great writing.
There's some, again, it's not
and directing.
It's
and
not simple at all. There's some very complex things that happen when the hack happens. Like there's another hacker group in China called the Dark Army that's was behind a lot of it too.
They're conspiring.
And they're like conspiring to kind of help China come.
And there's reasons why Dark Army is involved, and the reasons are not all as simple as you might think either. So everything is much more complicated. And yeah, they're spinning the web from so early on, and it's a very, very complicated web. And the whole 4 seasons, you know, every single episode of the show, new things are unfolding, and you're learning new things about what happened in the first episode. Because as things get more clear, you can reflect on how it started and go, so if you watch all the way to the end and go back to the beginning, which is why this is a bingeable show, not just once, but multiple times bingeable, you see new things because they were always weaving it. And it's kind of like, you know, The Matrix kind of fell apart a little bit, the Matrix series, and it was so brilliant in the first movie. And I thought it still had a lot to say that was really interesting and really dynamic in the second movie. And the third movie was sort of like, I feel like they didn't know what the arc was. I feel like they fell apart as like storytellers. And then there's the new Matrix movie, which was kind of interesting. You pop back into the storyline, you know, 25 years later or whatever. And it is 25 years later for the actors and in the storyline. And that's cool. And they reflected back, and I'm glad there was another movie, and I'll probably watch it a second time, but it still was like nothing like the brilliance and the insight and what it was saying, what it was commenting on about our world and the possibilities of what's maybe really happening in our world. There are things that the Matrix was helping people to wake up and see, but they kind of lost it. Like they just didn't know enough about where they were going. And this show does not have that problem. This show knows a lot about where it's going.
That's the thing is like Sam Esmail.
I can't even
originally envisioned.
It's really impressive.
Sam Esmail envisioned originally Mr. Robot being a movie. He tried to write it as a movie, but like
way too much.
The first act was like 90 pages or something. Like he had to make it a series, and I'm so glad it was a series. I'm so glad it played out the way it does. Like it plays out like a long story. There's no fat in this. There's no filler in this. Like everything progresses the story forward, and
it has this urgency. It always ends, and you're like, next episode, please. Like it's just got so much momentum, and it's really tight. It's 4 seasons, and it's really, really tight. Character development and storyline development and unfolding and more realizations. And you're like, whoa. I mean, it is really brilliant. It's some of the smartest storytelling, that I can think of, because it's just so cohesive to have multiple seasons. And the casting and the acting they're just phenomenal. I mean, I think all of the cast, all of the cast. Oh my God. Like his hacker crew and his friend Angela, and then like there's this guy from Evil Corp, Tyrell Wellick, who becomes mixed up and embroiled, and is he an ally or is he working against him? Are they going to manipulate him? Is he dead? Have they killed him? Exactly. Like what happened to Tyrell Wellick? Yeah, exactly. So it's just like this brilliant mystery, and his wife, who's just like, she's just another sociopath in like high heels and hipster clothing, and it's amazing. There, and then the executives from Evil Corp and what's going on with them, and with the Dark Army people, and like the cast, the lead actor of the Dark Army. Whoa, everything is good. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. I was so glad when Remy found it and showed me the show, because I didn't really know a lot about the show. And so I went in cold. I didn't know any spoilers, and I just genuinely got to experience it. And I was just like, whoa, very impressed. Very impressed.
And also, we've been trying to get my brother-in-law, her brother, to watch the damn show, because
my brother kind of is a character from Mr. Robot.
No, he's a big like conspiracy theorist. He's always talking about like the stuff that government's actually doing and the secret.
But he reads their source documents. Like he's not just reading incendiary.
But I'm like, keep watching certain segments and things that Elliot monologues, Elliot's monologues and stuff like that. I'm like, bro, you need to watch this show.
It just sounds like you. So it might be an extra reason we love it a lot. Yeah. My brother's always trying to deconstruct reality and figure out what's really going on here.
Yeah. So such an awesome show, and I keep coming back to it, and I'm so glad it exists in our messed up world. And
it's telling an important story.
Like it's truly amazing, like really, because like, and again, that it came. Again, no diss on USA, but it came from USA Network of all places. No offense, but I'm like, I think of them for like WWE and like shows that I usually skip.
No, they had other good shows that I liked. They had White Collar was a show that they created that I really liked. But White Collar doesn't it's really good storytelling, and I like that show a lot. But it's not as deep as this show. Burn Notice might have come from that.
yeah, I did, yeah.
I like Burn Notice first. I watched Burn Notice, and hey, it's got Sam Raimi in it, right?
Yeah.
No, what's his name?
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell, sorry.
The guy who's always in Sam Raimi movies.
Sorry, yeah, that's why.
That's why you thought that.
Weird by association.
Because Bruce Campbell always pops up in Sam Raimi.
Yes, it's got Bruce Campbell. I mean, you can't hate that, right?
Yeah, right.
But those are not incredibly deep shows. Like,
right.
Burn
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like a sort of knockoff Bond turned into a TV series.
Right.
And White Collar's good because, you have the sort of like the Saint, you have the kind of mastermind criminal with a heart of gold, and like, will he reform or won't he? So those are fun too. So, I wasn't totally surprised that USA would make a good show, but this one definitely has the most depth and the most social critique that's valuable, incredibly valuable, that they put forward. This is not just entertainment. And it's more challenging than just to like feel good and laugh and like, no, this show is going to make you feel some things. It's going to make you think some things. Mm-hmm. It is going to disturb you and have some things that are like, like, I don't want to watch that. Like, there's some moments that are, there's some really, really brutal imagery of like things that happen and what they show on camera versus sometimes things that are happening just off camera that are horrible, but at least you don't have to see them, kind of thing. So it does not always spare you as the viewer. You sometimes have to go through some pretty gruesome stuff with the characters to watch the show. So it's not fluff 100%. At all, but it's not so it doesn't have so much gratuitous violence.
No, absolutely
and
no.
it serves the story, understand why it's happening. They're not just
it makes it feel real. It feels like
it's not Kill Bill.
It's not sugarcoating you at all. It's not like overblown violence like exactly like Tarantino.
Which is just more like that's the whole thing. Everything's just got to be about that. This is a little more like American History X. Like it's violence and it's like but it's pretty earned. You can see how it's coming. What leads to the hyper violence that you see. Also,
as musicians, got to bring this up before we move on to our next thing. Great music in this show, and also very like synthy electronically. It kind of fits the synthwave vibe. And a lot of the score is on Spotify, so that's great.
So check out the music too.
So definitely check out Mr. Robot, you guys.